All right, for my country in general that I've been studying, it is Russia. And Russia has a very interesting economy. Russia recently suffered from not only a huge recession from the oil economy getting nearly destroyed back in the 2010s. This also affected a lot of other countries, but also from the rise and the fall of the USSR. This had a lot of impact on the economy, and in my opinion, this makes a lot of the parts of the economy and like economic standpoints, it makes me think that they're all recovering and that's why they are all rising. A lot of them has something in common, and that is that they used to be awful and now they're getting a lot better. This is GDP, unemployment, all that stuff is an example, and I feel like that is due to these issues. So I think they play a huge role in the economy. And so that being said, Russia's highest exports right now are categorized in machinery, equipment, and transport. This means Russia excels in construction and manufacturing capital. I feel like this is mainly due, obviously, to geographic location. They don't have a lot of farming. They don't have a lot of technological advancements due to human capital, which I feel like is because of their poor spending on human capital and education, which their education spending is one of the lowest in the world. And Russia is very industrialistic. Again, this is due to their geographic location. Russia's main export, their main one, is crude petroleum oil specifically. And in second place is just a lot of other fuels and oils and gases, like petroleum gas, that a lot of people use even now. Russia's main imports are also machinery and equipment, but they also import a lot of food items such as fruits and nuts. Again, this is due to their geographic location and they just can't farm a lot of fruits. Their opportunity costs, Russia still has some communist aspects, which makes business more difficult. Russia has high costs of labor, but they also have an incredibly low unemployment. And Forbes says that for a company that can exit cheaply, corruption probably is a manageable concern. As for GDP, I would consider Russia's to be poor when compared to other countries, not as in they're really poor, but they're, doing bad for how big of an economy they are. Russia has deficit issues. Again, these deficit issues are not big, like when compared to other countries their size, like the US, Mexico, and other things like that. So I feel like they could be taking more advantage of having more of an expansionary monetary policy and expanding their government spending, because they really do not have huge debt or deficits, and I feel like they could maybe take advantage of that and boost their economy a little bit. This also ties into GDP because they do not have high deficits, but somehow have pretty mediocre GDP at best. For their consumer price index, it's been rising. Like I mentioned, most other parts of their economy is rising. Again, due to their economy almost being destroyed, everything is getting higher and everything getting somewhat back to normal, even though I wouldn't say their economy is good. For their monetary policy, they're focused more on combating unemployment and senior citizen welfare and just welfare in general, which I feel like is pretty common for most countries, especially countries that have more of a middle to upper class aspect to them. Their fiscal policy, right now I would consider Russia's fiscal policy to be neutral. which I kind of mentioned before. I feel like, again, they could take advantage of an expansionary monetary policy and start to spend more government money and have tax restrictions to boost their economy, which isn't doing too good right now. It's doing all right at best, honestly, for how big of an economy the country is. For Russia's natural resources, their major natural resources, again, because of their geographic location, is going to be gas and oils, which obviously are not very sustainable. So they don't have a lot of natural resources that can be taken advantage of, like wheat production, like fruits, other foods, like natural stuff like that. Not even locations they could use like for touristy reasons. They pretty desolate in my opinion. So I think that the natural resources they do have are not very sustainable, since oils and gas is not sustainable at all because they're fossil fuels. For unemployment, surprisingly, Russia's unemployment rates are pretty low compared to most of the world. They're still recovering from the recessions due to the oil economy in the USSR, which I already mentioned. Again, like most economic standpoints, they were really bad and they're rising and getting really good, which might seem like, oh my gosh, they're doing so good, they have such a good economy, but in reality, it was that their economy is so bad, it used to be so bad, and they are recovering from that. So their economy might be mediocre, but it looks like it's great because of how bad it used to be and how much progress they have made. This can be found GDP, from when I was looking, GDP, unemployment. Even though their unemployment is not bad, it's actually pretty good, and it's not perfect, but it's near perfect. Of course, a little bit of unemployment is going to obviously happen, and it can be good for the economy too. As for discrimination and diversity, Russia is not a really diverse country politically. They are very religious, and their religious morals are very strict, and their religious morals, unlike America, are implemented into their economy. I think it's really stupid because I think they are missing out on potential human capital because of issues that really, in my opinion, don't affect the economy at all. I think they mainly discriminate LGBTQ people, and their lack of discrimination, of anti-discrimination laws, really affects their human capital and their reach to the potential GDP. They even have laws that actively discriminate against people, like gay people can't get married. I think personally that's kind of pointless implementing something like this into the economy. It's not going to do any good. It's only going to do you harm. And that's why I'm glad America has laws against that, because I feel like that's only going to destroy your economy even more. Globalization nearly destroyed the economy when oil prices changed so drastically in the 2010s. Russia depended on these oils and these gases, and their exports made over 60% of their exports, and they still do. And when the economy crashed, or not when the economy crashed, when the oil prices changed, that made their economy like nearly crash. And this is due to their globalization and their dependence on other people buying their oils. I think that now makes Russia not participate in trade as much as they used to, and not nearly as much as other countries do with similar economies. The US, Mexico, Canada are examples of that. This all ties in to things like fiscal policy and GDP. again, I feel like they tie into each other because Russia could take advantage of spending more money on foreign trade, spending more money on government spending, and spending more money on education could all do benefit to them and make them increase their capital and increase their GDP and overall increase their economy. In conclusion, after learning all about my country, I feel like Russia's economy is really playing it safe. They don't participate a lot in foreign trade. They do not spend a lot of money on education and risk it with human capital. They depend mostly on technological capital. Mostly it's more like machinery type capital. They're very industrialistic. I feel like, again, this is due to their geographic location. They can't really find ways to make money out of things that other countries do, like the US and tourists. People love going to the US and spending a lot of money in foreign trade on the US. People like importing things from the US, like food. For Russia, Russia doesn't produce a lot of food or wheat or fruit because of their geographic location. They are way up north. They are way close to the North Pole. They do not have a lot of sunshine. And so I would say they're pretty desolate. I would say what people say about Russia is mostly true. And I feel like Russia's economy could be a lot better. I feel like Russia is kind of stupid because there's obvious ways they could increase their economy and boost their growth in the economy that they just choose to ignore for reasons I'm not even sure after researching for this entire semester. I feel like the thing that stands out about Russia is probably their lack of globalization now, and how much or even though they do participate in it, they don't participate a lot. They don't focus a lot on foreign trade and mostly try to boost their economy within their own country. Their unemployment stands out to me a lot in a good way. For the bad ways, obviously, I would say their education spending is awful. It's one of the worst in the world. Say their GDP per capita is pretty mediocre for how big of an economy it is. It's a very big economy, and their GDP per capita is about like $12,000 in United States currency, which is pretty bad in my opinion, and pretty low to middle class income, if you would even call it middle class. That's the average. I feel like Russia really doesn't have anything special that's good about their economy. They don't have anything they can really use to their advantage, except for the fact that they do not have a big deficit and the fact that their debt is not horrible like the US. They could take advantage of things such as government spending, foreign trade, all that stuff, and boost their economy. They actively just don't. Their economy went to crap and then came back. Not really back to anything great. They are still recovering, and this shows in my research that it went bad to better to better to better, and it's still actively getting better. And I don't know when they're going to hit a peak. I don't know if it's soon. And it seems to me like their economy seems pretty stable in all of the worst ways. They are not a very good economy. And I feel like I just feel like they are missing out on chances to grow their economy for reasons I don't know. So, that's about it. Thank you.